Did Israel really target the al-Tabeen school in Gaza, or is there something that the media isn't telling you? I decided to look into this, and what I uncovered changes everything. Let's start with the facts. You've all seen the headlines.
At least 60 people have been killed
after an Israeli
airstrike on a school.
It's a tragic situation. Any loss of innocent life is heartbreaking, but there's crucial context here that's being deliberately ignored. In a moment, I'm going to show you undeniable proof that while there was a strike, it wasn't on the al-Tabeen school. But first, I want to share my own research on who the casualties actually were. As soon as Palestinian groups began naming the dead, I used open source intelligence to investigate whether these individuals were truly civilians, and what I found will shock you. Take Abdullah Samir al-Ara'ir. The media might just label him as another civilian casualty, but the reality is far more telling. Here he is with Hamas leaders Yahya Sinwar and Ismail Haniyeh, but it doesn't stop there. He was front and center at multiple Hamas and Islamic Jihad funerals, including this one for 3 of the leaders of Islamic Jihad. It's clear he was no innocent victim. He was a key player in a deadly terror network. And he's not alone. Amjad al-Yemeni, another so-called civilian, was repeatedly photographed with Haniyeh. This isn't a coincidence. You don't get this close to Haniyeh unless you're a prominent figure in Gaza's terror infrastructure. I found other connections like these, like the Hamas deputy mayor of Beit Hanun, like Hamed Najib Zino, again with Sinwar and Haniyeh, like Sheikh Mohammed Ramadan al-Ghafi, photographed here in an official capacity at a Hamas rally. Another Hamas-linked sheikh was Mohammed Hassan Abu Sa'ada, here with fellow Hamas clergyman Marwan Abu Ras. These were not innocent bystanders, and I assure you, as more names and photographs are released, their connections to Gaza's terror networks will be undeniable. By the way, my findings have now been corroborated by the IDF, who confirmed that Abu Sa'ada was in Hamas military intelligence, the deputy mayor was a Hamas emergency committee operative, al-Yemeni was a Hamas platoon commander, al-Ghafi was a Hamas operative, and al-Ara'ir was the commander of an Islamic Jihad cell. They went on to identify 14 other terrorists killed in the strike, bringing the total to 19 confirmed militants. I'd even found someone the IDF hadn't named, suggesting that there were other casualties who were likely to have terror links as well. Now, I really hate to do this part, but if you value my research and you want me to make more videos like this one, you can support my work on Patreon. But back to the video. So now that we know who the casualties were, let's listen to the IDF spokesman address the claim that Israel targeted a school.
Over the last few weeks, our intelligence has been closely monitoring an active Hamas and Islamic Jihad military facility, where approximately 24 Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants were operating.
Okay, so that checks out with what I uncovered, but if they'd been monitoring it for weeks, why now?
We also have intelligence indications that the terrorist Ashraf Judah, Islamic Jihad's brigade commander of the central camps, was at the compound.
Right, well that makes sense. There was a high-profile target on site, but lots of people are saying that that still doesn't justify targeting a school.
This military facility was embedded inside the al-Tabeen school building in Gaza City. After we received clear intelligence of the threat posed by these terrorists, and in accordance with international humanitarian law, we took numerous steps to mitigate the risk to civilians, including using aerial surveillance prior to the strike, and selecting very precise munitions to avoid civilian casualties. Early this morning, the IDF conducted a precision strike against the terrorists in one specific building of the compound, an area that, according to our intelligence, no women and children were present. You can see in a video published by us today that the compound is still intact and that there is no significant cratering or damage to the main structure of the compound.
So there you have it. The school wasn't targeted at all. A room housing terrorists in a mosque next to the school was hit, and it was hit at a time when civilian casualties would be kept to a minimum. You can see from this image of the school before and after that the school remained completely intact. As for the death toll that the media keeps regurgitating, this is a number that's provided by Hamas and it doesn't match the IDF's estimate. Not only are their numbers inflated, but they also fail to differentiate between militants and civilians, context that the media disgracefully leaves out. If they were truthful, they'd report that Israel didn't target a school. It struck a command center hidden within a mosque tied to terror. They'd record that the strike was precise, the intelligence rock solid, and many of those killed were far from innocent. The graphic images coming from the aftermath are harrowing, but before rushing to condemn Israel, it's crucial to note that many of the casualties have been confirmed as terrorists, and while there were certainly civilian casualties, their blood is on the monsters who used them as human shields. I pray for a speedy release of the hostages, the complete surrender of Hamas, and an end to this violence.